What we are doing today is looking over the Dead by Daylight AMA, FAQ, whatever you want to call it. It's good that they're doing this. The devs have not really had much community interaction for a while, and understandably so, because pretty much every time they used to have like a live stream or something, they just get pretty much annihilated. And so I understand their hesitancy to not want to do that, and I understand that they're trying to get better with communication stuff. So this is all great. Whether or not we agree with the things that they say, it's still good that they're at least trying stuff. Light mode. I have to keep it on light mode because I don't want to. I'm trying to think of some joke that can justify this. My eyes are bad. I slept about 3 hours. My stomach feels terrible. I have not eaten food since yesterday, so this is a struggle stream. But let's get to it. Okay, first up, I guess we can just read. I wonder if it'd be better if I just went to their profile and just read all their comments. Nah, let's just scroll down naturally. Okay, has it been considered to clean up some of the more useless offerings on the Blood Web, such as ones that only slightly buff blood points? That's a pretty good question. We're exploring the offerings in their system as a whole right now on the design team. I can't give you any hints about what they might have changed or where we might end up yet, but we're exploring new effects and actively designing ways to make the system better overall. I feel like, isn't that like the standard behavior response to every single question? We understand this is an issue. We're looking into it. We can't give any updates right now. I feel like that's like, you can probably just have that exact same answer to every question, and it's basically just what they do. I'm not going to be cynical or anything. I just find that funny. That's like the standard PR response. So that doesn't really tell us anything. Next response. Ooh, this is a good question. Can you tell us about the process the team goes through when deciding to nerf and buff an add-on? That is a great question. It feels so frustrating seeing certain add-ons getting a nerf for being popular. Toy Sword, Nemesis, Marvin's Blood, engravings, while other add-ons are so weak situational they're really worth using. And also other ones like Alchemist Ring, Adrenaline Vial, things like that are not touched. So I would love to see the answer to that one. This is a question. I should have said the same thing. This is something we're aware of and we're looking into it. This is a question that has been considered heavily within our design team in recent months. We're continually learning where our priorities need to be when it comes to live balance, and our process is changing as a result. This is pretty much the same thing so far. We have shifted to an approach that rests on three foundations: design, intent, community feedback, and data and statistics. Recently, we have shifted to this. I watched the year 2 live stream where they had a PowerPoint slide with these exact things on it in that order. Recently, my ass. This has literally been their MO for the entire time of them working on the game. I feel like this whole video is going to end up being very cynical because I did a lot of research like on their past. I spent an entire day watching their past live streams just to see like how far they come or what they said. And yeah, no, they have. I swear to God, these exact pillars have been discussed for almost 7 years straight. So this is not a recently thing. They've always been doing this. Whatever. We watch for issues on all three fronts and prioritize them from there. We are also cautious about vetting our changes with the community management team to get a read on how our updates will be received before release. How does that work? That would mean that they're telling us the perk changes before they happen, which I suppose they do with the PTB. So I guess that part's fair. Some decisions, especially those based on data or design intent, may not always be 100% clear for everyone. That's okay. That said, we want to be attentive to the needs of our community and will be most healthy for the game overall. Yeah, that's just a non-answer. Yeah, like that's just a very safe PR answer that basically says absolutely nothing. So that's unfortunately a pretty useless response. They basically just said the generic, in response to a very good question, what is the process behind the, what you guys do? They just gave them the same three pillars that have been causing issues for 7 years straight. So they needed to give basically a different take on it that's not the already existing pillars that they've been using, because clearly it's not working super well in terms of consistency. Sometimes they do it good, and sometimes they just, I don't know, leave Blythe add-ons in the game for years. Am I sorting by Q&A? No, I'm just sorting by whatever the hell default was. We're going to be here for a while, so it's whatever. It's not a big deal. Yeah, that's unfortunately a very nothing answer. I get the question was, what's the design process? So they technically did answer what the process is, but this is not a new thing. This is a very old thing. Again, seriously, don't take my word for it. Go to the year 2 or 3 live stream. You look at their PowerPoints, the slides in the background. It's the exact same things. Are they still answering questions? I believe so, yeah. All right. Any plans to rework or change Freddy in any way? Can't give you any details, but I can tell you he's on our radar. All right, hold on. Let me just record this for the future. The Dead by Daylight team is aware of this issue, and we are looking into it, but we can't give any concrete details as of right now. There we go. I feel like I can just... The Dead by Daylight team is aware of this issue, and we are looking into it, but we can't give any concrete details as of right now. There. I can save myself some talking. I'm very tired, so... We can just basically summarize most of these as that. Okay, so that's kind of nothing. It's cool that they at least understand that he needs yet another rework, but... Man, I hate these questions that don't like, they're like the nothing questions. I call these like the Blizzard FAQ questions, where they're just like, man, this thing you did is so good. Can you tell us the process behind making this awesome thing? Like, I feel like those questions are a waste of an FAQ, you know? And they always get responded to because it makes them look good. Moris have to avoid actually doing too much damage to a survivor's body for various reasons, as it's still within its own limitations. Or does something change that allows the team to make more brutal Moris? And can we expect the possibility for more of that in the future? I mean, the reason is because they can't, like, remove limbs from models and stuff like that. It makes sense. On the level of brutality and gore, there's one thing we keep in mind, except for the actual technical scope feasibility of an idea. One of DBD's core pillars is that we want to be a horror that's accessible to all. That means many things for different facets of the game, but in this case, it means that some brutal actions, level of gore, may make the game inaccessible in some regions. I guess that's kind of true. Especially in, like, China and stuff like that, you can't have, like, skulls or, like, blood. They would have to make it all, like, cum and stuff. You guys notice whenever, like, China changes bloody scenes, they just make it all cum? It's just all white goo. I don't know why they do that as if it's better. It makes it so much worse. But that's fair. That's a fair response. It's a nothing question, but that's a very realistic thing they have to worry about for sure. Will the black bubble after hooking someone be addressed soon? It's been 7 years. I'm guessing no. I like the effect, but in a ton of scenarios, you can't see if the killer's going towards you, even with the effect of Kindred. Honestly, for killer, it's annoying too. It's just annoying basically for everybody. The intention of the bubble's design is to hide the killer's exact position after a survivor's been hooked. However, it's an old design, so maybe it's time for review if its appearance are still ideal. Yeah, we've been saying this for like 5 years, though. Why is now the time to review it? The intention of the bubble design is to hide the killer's exact position after a survivor has been hooked. Their exact position after the survivor has been hooked is at the hook that they hooked them on. It's completely redundant. The hook that they're on is where they are. That's how you hook people. It seems like no one likes this response, too. Yeah, this is just it's a nothing answer as well. The intention is to give the sense of pride and accomplishment. Will mobile cosmetics be ported in anytime soon? I don't care about mobile cosmetics, but they have some really cool ones. I'd love to see that. We will start porting some mobile cosmetics over starting sometime the next year. Why does it take that long, though? You would think, like, porting over a thing that already exists in a version of the game would be, like, that's like a day. Why is that such a far... Unless the mobile company is such a different team that they literally have to, like, purchase the skin from them or something. Like, why does that take so long? Like, I understand game development takes way longer than people think it does, but that asset's already made. It's got to be, like, a licensing thing because it's a different team that works on it. They have to, like, actually purchase a license for them, even though it's their own base game or something. I don't know. There's probably stuff there that I don't fully understand. Any plans to update earlier licensed killers with their own music tracks has been a trend for other killers of late. Given Ghostface being licensed, receiving a unique chase theme last year, there's been confusion regarding this. We would love for all killers to have this featured. Nevertheless, licensed content will sometimes have a limitation out of our control. That's completely fair and realistic. We might get a track for all of them at some point, but no promise. Shape already has unique music tracks, so enjoy that in the meantime. I mean, yeah, that's true. That's completely fair. Like, licensed content, you can't just, like, make new stuff for it without express permission from the content creator or the licensed creator. Like, it's very complicated very fast, so I understand that. That's fair. Whatever happened to the Promised Twins rework? It was talked about to be next killer after Legion Ghostface. We haven't heard anything about it, and as far as I know, twins are still plagued by many bugs. Due to limited space in each release and the unexpected complexity of the update needed for twins, the update has been delayed a lot longer than we wanted to. However, it's been designed and working on releasing sometime in early 2024. Poor twins, man. Twins changes coming right after cross progression. Poor twins. Everything is like, God, that is more than half a year away, man. At the earliest. Ugh. I mean, yeah, fuck the twins, but I still feel bad for Pixel and Lynxy, and that's it. I think I named all of the twins' names. TLDR, we have no clue how to change them. I don't even know how to change them. That's actually a fair one. I don't even know how to fix that shit. I have no idea. That's a very complicated thing to fix. With the seemingly new trend of original licensed survivors getting lobby voice lines, can we expect some implemented voice lines for previous survivors as well? The survivors like Dwight and Megclaw, I would love to see that, honestly. And would this include a possibility of original survivors interacting with each other similar to RE characters? And we're not going to delete that. Never say never. DB's a constant. The Dead by Daylight team is aware of this issue, and we are looking into it, but we can't give any concrete details as of right now. All right. What caused the sudden shift to add more clutter and obstructions to the new maps and reworks? Great question. In my experience, it causes nothing but frustration from both sides. They even proudly spoke about how cluttered the map is. Great question. This guy is based. Okay. Great question. I agree. As clutter, you might be referring to two different things, so I'll do my best to answer both meanings. Clutter as in more objects making navigation more difficult. I'm guessing the other one is visual clutter. Okay. As our team grew during the graphical rework, a lot of details were addressed to make the maps richer. Lots of lessons were learned during those days, and we are still learning on what elements and metrics make it difficult for navigation. Why are you still learning that after 7 years? This has to be a new team. I'm starting to think that this is just, it's an entirely new team. I know a lot of the original people have left. I'm actually going to give them the benefit of the doubt and not think they're just that dumb. I think it's legit just an entirely new team that's working on the game now. So they actually are learning because they just didn't. It's like Matt Walker and like that whole team, they were just starting to get it and then they left. And then a new team came on and they have to just relearn the entire new thing. Most people stay at their jobs for only 2 to 3 years. Yeah, that's probably right. That is probably what's going on. So I want to give him shit there, but I genuinely do think it's just new people that actually just don't know, which is not reassuring because you're supposed to learn from the mistakes of your predecessors and stuff like that. But let's keep going. On what elements and metrics make it difficult for navigation? Lots of lessons that are learned during those days on what elements and metrics make it difficult for navigation. Even with that, though, what does that mean? What elements and metrics make it difficult for navigation? The things that make it difficult for navigation are things that make it difficult to navigate. That's a bush, a tree. That's not something you need to learn over the course of many years. Things that get in the way. That's what clutter is. You don't have to this is not a complicated idea. As a software engineer, it's very common that one head figure will leave and everyone else under him will leave as well, leaving a husk team that gets refilled with new devs that start over from scratch. Sure, I get that. And even trying to learn based off the skeleton that they were given is complicated. But this is not a complicated subject. If we're talking about things that make navigation more difficult, what is navigation? It is walking forward through the map. If there's a tree, a bush, and a rock in the way, now it's more complicated to navigate. That's not a crazy game design, you have to go to college for 4 years concept there. I don't know, man. Our level design team is actively working with the environment artist to make sure each asset is found in a map, each asset found in a map, especially when it comes to navigation, follows game metrics. Well, they're not doing a very good job because every map they make has horrible collision lately. Even the last one they just made is the, what's it called? Toblerone? The Toblerone map is just bushes with very bad collision and stuff like that. So it appears if they're actively learning, they haven't learned yet. Borgo's got terrible collision. Like the like the hay bale, like not the hay bale. There's like a ground clutter even on Shack on that map. It's like a little like thing of, I don't even know how to describe it. It looks like hay on the ground. It makes navigating Shack so much more obnoxious because you have to go so much wider around it. And because survivors have smaller hitbox, it makes Shack that much more efficient for survivors. So it's, yeah, that circular pile of hay. It's exactly what I'm talking about. That shit sucks. Even if they have this whole skeleton crew, they have a whole community that's been with the game for 7 years to help. Yeah, but... All right, the next one for Clutter. Clutter. I'm so tired. Finding objectives in visual clutter. As the graphic fidelity evolves in DBD, so does our gameplay need to evolve in terms of visual elements, which have not always followed. We're looking into that now. The idea is to have level of... Dude, here's the problem. They're going to look into this now. They're going to learn. They're going to gather the big data. They're going to get it. And after 2 or 3 years, they got it. And then they're going to quit. And then the new people are going to come in. And then so nothing will actually get fixed because by the time they learn, they're going to move on to a different company. Because that's just what's currently happening. All right, so here is a realistic thing. Let's be honest. The maps nowadays look better than the maps of of Eld. And that's just true. You look at, Eerie of Crows, the lighting on it. If you look at Garden of Joy, it's a good-looking map. It looks good. I do think graphically they look great. And so environmental artists do need to match up with the gameplay designers more, because if they're able to do more assets in the map to make it look more, to nail an aesthetic more, they do need to communicate more. But they need to figure out that fine line between making something look cool and making it actually playable and fun to play. Because the playable fun will always be more important than how it looks. I know I'm weird when I say I would play an untextured map if it was balanced well. Most people are not exactly like that. But I will say that I think most people agree that the gameplay is more important than the aesthetic. Don't ignore the aesthetic, but they need to weight the gameplay higher than the aesthetic of the map, which they don't. They absolutely weight the aesthetic of the map way higher than the actual gameplay. So I think their priorities have been reversed pretty much always with their map design. And I think that's just how it's always been. Something's pretty the first time you play on it, something being frustrated playing on it's forever. That's a really good way to put it, yeah. You encountering things that make the map frustrating, you will always encounter every time, and the allure of how shiny a new map looks will go away very fast. Honestly, Borgo doesn't look good or play nice, so yeah, you're right. Everything about Borgo is bad. The idea is to have level of priority... Oh, shit, I probably should have kept reading. The idea is to have level of priorities and how easily perceivable elements are on the screen. This pass will make gameplay elements pop compared to details that are great but less important to manage your objective. Oh, I'm too tired to understand what that means. The idea is to have levels of priorities and how easily perceivable elements are on the screen. This will make gameplay elements pop. I think what they're hinting at is you might not be able to see 5 feet in front of you, but they will make vaults and pallets and generators stick out to be visible and things like that. So the gameplay elements they try to make visible, even if there's lots of obstructions, the things that players need to navigate to should still be okay. But then we look at, maps like RPD and the map they just made, and that's just verifiably not true. Because I cannot find shit on those maps to this day. It's still hard to navigate. So, I don't know. I'm not feeling that one. From the level design perspective, we are in the process of addressing the clutter issue. Focuses on clarity, readability, and navigation. We had this issue with the Toba landing in PTB and are addressing that in next week's release. Okay, well, that's good. We'll see what they actually do to change that. Hopefully they just, yeah, well, I mean, what this guy said. You could just add grass instead of bushes with awkward hitboxes. If they just, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre has a bunch of bushes that are really easy to hide in. It's basically like, if you haven't played that game yet, it's like, Dead Dog Saloon. Those super dark bushes. You can add stealth elements and things like that. That's okay. Just things that have horrible collision are what's super frustrating. That is what makes killers, like, unplayable on certain maps. And why it's so hard for them to make good hitboxes. So, a general rule in game design. I learned this when I was 12 making stick figure games on the internet. A general rule of hitboxes is you always want to make them more lenient than less lenient. You always want to be able to make the player able to clip into the model a little bit to make it feel better. Not actually have the hitbox be the entire sphere of the object. You always want them to be able to kind of go into it a little bit because that always feels better. And that's just good game design overall. You can even see that in Dark Souls. Sometimes you'll have a hitbox that it actually kind of looks like it hits you, but it's just lenient enough to make the player feel good because they didn't get hit. And that's always been the case with hitboxes. You always want to make hitboxes more lenient, not less lenient. That's always how it works. It's always better to do that. Hitbox is more than the sphere on the board. I know. I don't know. But yeah, this is the correct way to do it. What they're doing is not really the correct way to do it. Cross progression, I'm guessing they're going to say, yeah. Okay. This is probably the first thing I'll defend them on. Cross progression, I'm willing to bet is just not up to them anymore. It's probably up to like Sony or Microsoft or something that's just not allowing them to do it. So I don't really think they have a say on that one. So that sucks, but I don't think it's their fault. I don't know why, because there are games that do have cross progression that they have endorsed, but maybe there's too big of a fee and I don't know. There's probably something corporate side that's making it not work. At this point, I don't think it's technical limitations anymore. Are there any plans to make custom games easier to set up for tournaments and other events? It's been years since the introduction of custom matches, and we haven't really had any new settings since. Options to limit items and rarities. Options to enforce non-duplicated perks. Yeah, I don't really care for comp DBD, but I've always supported the idea of having a better tournament rule set where you can have all these things into the game. That would make the comp scene way less of a joke, in my opinion, if you could actually have things embedded into the game that show the rules of the actual tournament. So that would be neat. This is a topic that has just recently made it onto our radar. Why recently? It's been discussions that have been happening for years and years and years. Oh, it is odd. I didn't notice. It's been years and years and years. And years and years we've been talking about that. A topic that recently made it on our radar, one we can clearly see the value in. The custom features have been left untouched for far too long. The Dead by Daylight team is aware of this issue, and we are looking into it, but we can't give any concrete details as of right now. I'm going to press the button a lot this stream, I feel like. In the past, the team had stated there would be only a human or humanoid killers in the game. Obviously, with Stranger Things license, a killer could not be humanoid. Disagree. Demogorgon is still humanoid. Humanoid is something that stands on two legs and runs forward. Demogorgon still fits the humanoid theme. You could say Dredge is the first non-humanoid killer. I would say Dredge is not humanoid because he's a literal blob, and that I think is the only example. Even Dredge is mildly humanoid because he's bipedal upright. I guess he's not bipedal, he's goopy. I wouldn't say humanoid is always two arms, two legs. I actually don't know what describes humanoid exactly, but it's typically two legs, walks upright, and moves in that motion. I would say Dredge is not really humanoid now. However, with Lisa Dredge and now Singularity, we've gotten a few original monstrous killers. What changed the design philosophy that allowed this to happen? Can we expect further creative visual designs like them in the future? Not saying this is a lie, but the fact that we said we would only do humanoid was not a design philosophy, but more of a technical scope limitations, of course, because they don't want to keep making new animation skeletons. That's very complicated. Every worthy, bloodthirsty creature has a space in the world. The entity is what allowed us to do so. We leveled up, the team's bigger, more experienced, all thanks to the growth of our community. Characters with different structures are definitely going to happen again as we continue to explore more possibilities in DBD. That's cool. I have no qualms with that. I'd love to see more monstrous shit in the game. How long from concept to release does it take to design a full killer, not including perks, survivor, or map, but just the killer and their power? It fluctuates, but in general it takes about a year from start to finish. I find that kind of crazy. I legit think that's kind of crazy. Look, I've never worked for a AAA game company before, so maybe I'm literally clueless. But it doesn't seem to make sense that it takes a year to do that. It's a... Let's think about what goes into a new chapter. You know what? He didn't even ask that. He said just design a full killer. What goes into designing a new killer? Animations and the skeleton. That is complicated. Actually making the model and, rigging it to a skeleton and making it go smoothly and stuff like that, that can take a pretty good chunk of time, for sure. That is probably one of the longer things. Oh, no. The actual programming of the killer is also going to be a pretty big part of that, too. So the animations and rigging and texture artists and things like that, and then the actual programming of it itself, that's some significant work. That is easily months and months. But it's not a year. Oh, no, I completely understand. There's like the the draft period where they're just, spitballing stuff. They're literally just getting concept art. They're just barely starting. And I'm sure they include that in the time it takes. But even then, I always want to compare that to other. I compare it to like grinding gear games with Path of Exile and stuff like that releases content on 3-month cycles. And the amount of content they put out in a free game is so much more than Dead by Daylight puts out that I don't know if Grinding Gear Games is just on crack and they're an incredible team, or behavior is just super slow and bad. So I'm leaning more towards the behavior is just extremely slow, because Grinding Gear Games has way less employees than Behavior 2. Street Fighter producer said it takes 4 years from concept to release of a character, so for 1 year for DVD and is realistic. Really? 4 years from concept to release of a character. I don't get that. I'm not saying they're wrong, because obviously they know more than I do about this. I'm just saying my brain can't process what they're doing for a year. I just don't get it. Maybe I never will. Someone who's worked on several games, it makes sense. Yeah, but I can't say I've worked on a AAA game. I will admit, I'm not familiar with the whole bureaucracy of actually making stuff in a giant company like that. I've mostly just made my own stuff. So that's completely fair that I wouldn't get that. More employees can be way more overhead and way more spreading of effort. Also true, just because you have 10 programmers doesn't mean they program something 10 times as fast. It doesn't work like that. Fighting game characters are much more in depth. Of course, they have to be way more careful, but still, that just blew my mind that you said it took 4 years to... Did you have a link to the guy saying that? Street Fighter producer time takes develop character. I would love to like take a quick aside here and just read that. Capcom says it takes roughly 2 years. That's way less than what you said. Capcom says it takes roughly 2 years to create a new character from concept to implementation. Okay, it's not 4 years, that's 2 years. But that's still much longer than I thought. Yeah, that's still a lot. Oh, fair enough. In the past, the team has stated that maps take by far the most development time out of anything else in the game. How long does it usually take to make an original map, such as Double Landing, from concept to completion? How difficult is it to modify maps once they're in the game? See, this I think would be more complicated, because like this is dealing with really complicated stuff like random generation and stuff like that. I would assume the maps take a really long time, but apparently the maps take less time. They take 6 months to create. See, that's so weird to me. I would imagine a map is far more complicated in Dead by Daylight to make than a new killer. I guess there's less coding, as is basically no coding involved, so... So I guess really a lot of it comes down to coding then. That's why they're bad. Map has more asset reuse. Yeah, but they also reuse assets when they make killers too. Like, a lot of killers have reused lunges. Like, a lot of killers have reused vault animations and things like that. Dredge is definitely a more unique one, but the vast majority of killers share animations and stuff like that. Aren't maps just random templates? Yeah, but stitching them together in a functional way is pretty complicated. Also True Zero. I don't know how they actually generate that stuff. I mean, this is just not really important, but it's interesting that it takes less time to do that than make a new killer. Which, it's funny because the actual balance of the maps is far more important than the actual killer design, in my opinion. Maps are the most impactful thing in the entire game. Most new killers have been getting new animations for everything, though. True, I will say that the past like couple of killers they made have been way more in-depth than the previous ones. Absolutely. Definitely give them credit there for sure. It's a meme question. I don't really care about that. Can we get outfits based on the later Halloween movies, or does the copyright prevent that from happening? Wanting an older Jamie Lloyd from Halloween 4 to get a legendary skin so bad, made a petition about it, even asked the actress herself. Thank you for your passion and dedication. Working on getting licenses can be a challenge. Well, sorry, horror fan. You didn't really get an answer there. I mean, he's right, though. That is hard. Has there ever been any thoughts? Hit the button. He didn't even give him that. Any thoughts on adding alternative game modes or queues? Great question that everyone's been asking for 7 years. Of course, it'll be a massive undertaking. Also very true. But I'm curious if it's ever been given any real thought, a ranked mode or a mode with different rules like draft picking, perks, or anything like that. Would be cool to see. It's an idea we've always had in the back of our minds. Why? Why is that in the back of your minds? This the shit I don't understand. Why is that in the back of their minds? Press button, fine. The Dead by Daylight team is aware of this issue, and we are looking into it, but we can't give any concrete details as of right now. The player base is too small to sustain alt queues. The fuck it is. It is not. Deceive Inc. has like 500 players. I can play solo and I can play teams and my queues are 5 seconds long. No, that's not an excuse. This is something that we're actively prototyping. We plan on starting small and doing game modes as limited time modes and building up from there. We're hopeful that we'll have more to share with you next year. Oh, you're right. I should have pressed the button. It's an idea we've always been in the back of our minds. How long have you guys seen requests for a new game mode? I feel like as long as I've been making videos about DBD on YouTube, people have been asking for new game modes as one of the most highly requested things. Think about how much people like the summer barbecue events and shit like that. Every time they even have a temporary event, it's usually met with almost universal acclaim. I just think they don't want to do it because it's extremely in-depth and complicated to do, which, to be fair, it is. That's not an easy thing to do. But why is this something that's always been in the back of their minds? It's one of the most highly requested things in the game that would legitimately double their player base. Even if queues were split between more modes, queues would still be faster because they would actually double their player base. How hard is it to make a randomizer mode? I don't know. People have literally modded that shit in, so... Yeah, I just don't understand their priorities. Their priorities seem so strange here. It's things like this, things like having custom Moris. They have so many winning things to just get them free money that they just, for some reason, choose to not do. Money, that's the priority? No, it's not even that. Because they could literally have a custom Mori store and make millions of dollars. Why wouldn't they do that? So it's not even money. Because they can make so much money by just doing shit like that, but they just don't do it. Easiest way to make money. Okay, fair. Without doing work. I guess that's more realistic. I feel like that's coming from the finisher Mori thing. Fair. But, I mean, there's so many things that they could be doing to get more money. And the fact that this is in their back of their minds hurts me. Because it has been on the front of everybody's minds, I guess, except the people making the game. Plan on starting small and doing game modes as limited time modes and building up from that. I mean, that's cool. I would love to see more limited time events. But I would love to see more game modes entirely. So I guess it's good that they didn't just say, no, fuck you. It's the bare minimum answer. I don't know. Possible to get new Moris for killers as a customization option, not just tied to a skin. Cries and backlog. Oh, they have so many employees, though. I don't get it. They have... Behavior Interactive has over 1,000 employees. Now, obviously, they're not all working on DBD. Let's say not even half of them are working on the game. It's basically their only successful game, so I still would imagine that the majority are doing that. But let's say, conservatively, even only 300 people are working on the game. There can't be 10 animators working on the new killer because that doesn't work like that. You can't have 10 people working on the same thing at the same time, and it's like the whole you can't make a baby birth faster if you... it doesn't work like that. So what? They have hundreds of people working on DBD. I know they do. So why can't they get 1 or 2 animators just working on that shit? I just don't understand. They just don't have an animation team that can work after the release of a killer. Why not? They have so many people working on the game. They can't have more than a couple working on the killer, and the survivors have the same animations, so that doesn't even matter. But they can't have that many people working on the killer because it doesn't work like that. It doesn't make the thing go faster. So they should have a lot of animators that are just doing nothing. What could they be doing? Sure, there's little things on cosmetics, like Dwight has little jingle bells on them that they have to get the physics for, right? But that's not even animation. That's just the physics engine, because you can tell it's physics-based. Making charms don't have animations. I'm talking about animations specifically. You animate as a hobby and you can make a Mori in a day. I don't know about that. It'd probably be pretty subpar in a day. But I do agree with your overall mindset that there's just gotta be... I don't know how... I feel bad judging them because I don't know what's going on, but my brain cannot comprehend why they haven't started doing this, because it's free money. They could just hire people to be animators and probably offset the cost of the Moris themselves. You know what I mean? They would still make more money hiring new people to make Moris. Like, look at For Honor, a game that has a very small player base, but do you know how many animations they still add to the game, like, incredibly frequently? That game has so many animations, like their kill animation, stuff like that. They have so many. And their team is, I guarantee, smaller than DBD's. That's why I just don't... I don't understand. I want to change the question I asked to, how many animators do you have and how are they allocated to working on resources for the game right now? I just don't understand. And you know what? I'm not even going to pretend like there's one animator working on the new killer, but they work on multiple killers at the same time. So let's say they've got 5 animators working on 3 killers at the same time. But then what are the other ones doing? I just don't get it. Yeah, For Honor is a great example of how, like, they don't even have a big company and their game is very unpopular now. And yet they have so many animations in that game. And they add them regularly. Like, it's a nonstop thing. And their animations are great. They're very, very cool. You don't think the issue is the animation team? It's prioritizing work to support switching Moris. It's a feature. I don't know why they haven't That's my point, though. Why would they not prioritize it? It's literally free money. I'm just saying, this is not even for the benefit of us. It's for the benefit of them. They could make so much money from this. Why would they not just get on that? This should not be in the backlog. Just, again, from seeing dollar signs and being selfish and only trying to make money, this should be the most, like, I don't understand. Very unpopular. That's not true at all. I mean, let's... For Honor Twitch. It has 319 viewers, man. That's pretty unpopular. I'm just saying. The Naughty Bear cosmetics apparently gonna have custom Moris. They're branching. Great. That's awesome. I'd love to see that. And you know what? I bet that is gonna sell a shit ton. Only 3K on Steam. Yeah, that's vastly less popular than DBD. Comparing to DBD, that's a small game. I don't know what to tell you. Okay. What's next? Oh yeah, I'm not saying it's a dead game. I never even claimed to say that. We're talking about DBD, so I said it's small because in comparison to the game we're talking about, it's small. Aren't most players on the Ubisoft launcher? I don't know. It's probably a pretty even split. Fine, even double it, triple it, quadruple it. It's still smaller than DBD. Could you guys do something shirt related for Puppers? That'd be cool. We've seen. All right, here's the one thing. I mean, I wear Puppers' I've worn his charm on my Wraith like pretty much since they added it to the game. Here's the one thing I would be concerned with doing that. Say they added a Puppers Dwight skin, which would be awesome. You know what people would do. I don't even have to go further into why that would be a concern, but you know what people are going to do, and that would make me incredibly sad. So I don't think they should do that. I don't like where that could go. That's all I'll say about that. Was there any noteworthy, anything noteworthy that stuck out to the team when designing the Singularity? I love his design and would like to know more about how he was designed. It was a weird concept, not an easy sell. It was great power originally. Sounded bland on paper. It doesn't sound bland on paper. It sounds pretty sick. How does Singularity sound bland on paper, but then we got Skull Merchant coming out? You put up a drone and you stand there. The end. Singularity is like he's shooting darts out, he's pinning them on walls, and you're switching your camera, then you're switching back, and then you're pinning them, then you're tagging them, and you're transporting to them, and then you're getting a stuff like Singularity sounds pretty fucking cool in design. In fact, Singularity sounds like what Skull Merchant probably should have been. Like, he sounds cool as shit. While prototyping, we managed to make pods usable in Chase and then realized the versatility. Oh, maybe that's why. Because they didn't have the pods usable. So they basically just made Skull Merchant again. That's so funny that while prototyping, they didn't realize they were just making the same killer that they just made. That's actually so funny. That gives a lot more credence to the idea that multiple teams work on separate killers at the same time and they don't talk to each other, like, at all, apparently. Because if the team talked to each other at all, even before prototyping, they would realize, oh shit, we're making the same killer. It's the same team. Oh no, it's not the same team. They have multiple teams working on different killers at the same time. But it seems like they don't talk to each other because they would realize that before they even started drawing it up, that they're making the same killer twice. That's funny though. I think many people would agree that saying Hillbilly needs some add-ons adjusted, but also, why is the overheat mechanic still a thing? It's pretty much a non-factor, and there are add-ons to increase the overheat limit anyway. I feel you. Billy occupies a squishy place in all of our hearts, and we've been working on him. An update has been designed for a Billy boy. The Dead by Daylight team is aware of this issue, and we are looking into it, but we can't give any concrete details as of right now. All right. Will you ever expand the rituals to give one survivor and one killer daily each day? Would weekly or monthly rituals ever be added for bigger payout? The Dead by Daylight team is aware of this issue, and we are looking into it, but we can't give any concrete details as of right now. Thank you so much for doing Sammy. Happy anniversary. Out of curiosity, were there any concepts that the team was considering as powers for the Singularity before deciding on biopods, or was this what they set their sights on right away? Pods were concept from the beginning. Originally, Killer had two mechanics it can use. One involved shooting the pods to teleport to survivors, and the other one allowed it to shoot survivors to teleport them to its location. Ultimately, it was deemed exceedingly disorienting on the survivor side, so we removed it and brought back more opportunities. Oh, teleporting other survivors. Ooh, that would be fucky. I'm glad they went back on that. That would be extremely disorienting. Good call. Good call. New unique items for survivors. Goes to show what brilliant minds think alike. We've been discussing this very... The Dead by Daylight team is aware of this issue, and we are looking into it, but we can't give any concrete details as of right now. That's a long one. Pyramid Head. We'll read it. It's still a good question. You guys tested out a buff to Pyramid Head, which gave him the ability to torment survivors hit by punishment of the damned. You guys understandably walked back this buff as it allowed for some unfun situations for survivors. In the following developer update, you revealed the reason for testing this change was that you were looking for additional ways to let Pyramid Head apply torment. This would lead me to believe that the balance team has been looking to buff certain elements of Pyramid Head's kit. Also, be kicking yourself if you did not take the opportunity to ask about his add-ons. Good. I don't think they have to read anymore, just his add-ons in general. You are correct that we initially wanted to change Executioner because we believe he can be improved. I mean... Okay. The Dead by Daylight team is aware of this issue, and we are looking into it, but we can't give any concrete details as of right now. I love this Anso. God, I'm so deliriously tired. I'm sorry. You're correct. We initially wanted to change Execution because we believe he can be improved. I just love that answer. We wanted to change him to make him better by making him better. Thank you. No more questions. Will there be a shift away from relying on pure statistics and instead listening to experienced players, more qualitative feedback in general? The statistics-based approach for balancing has been a huge pain point in the past 7 years. While data is crucial in balancing in general, it is not a substitute for player design feedback. Our approach to balancing is a bit more complicated than this, and I can say it does not rest solely on game design. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it, though. Great example. Hey, Kizwati. Are you in chat? Poggers. How do you explain a lot of the changes to Billy Twins and stuff? The changes were purely motivated by stats, and nobody in the community agreed with them. It's a good point. Things like Rancid Abattoir, too, getting changed. Like the one good farm map. Like, what the fuck? Why? So that just seems like PR speak. That's not even true. What do we got? Question is about map design. You primarily play killer. Sometimes you feel like the outcome of games decided before it even starts, depending on what map you end up on. Based and true. Even when chosen via offerings or by RNG. When designing maps, what, if anything, is done with structure and layout to make maps fair for both sides? Are they still answering questions? They are, yes. The intention when we create maps is not to favor one side more than the other. That is the most nothing statement ever. The intention when we create maps is to make them balanced. No shit. That is the point. Let's continue. This is why we currently want to rebalance the maps. We are currently using data collected and feedback to get from the community. We started last year, balanced maps. We're going to continue back. The Dead by Daylight team is aware of this issue, and we are looking into it, but we can't give any concrete details as of right now. Okay. Is there any discussion regarding raising killer FOV to help reduce motion sickness for those affected? Short answer, yes. Long answer, we have a design that is in development. The Dead by Daylight team is aware of this issue, and we are looking into it, but we can't give any concrete details as of right now. Why is the map team not advanced substantially in the balance department? Based. Kiswati again. Dude. Slaying. The community has been clear that the maps are imbalanced, yet it seems the devs simultaneously understands the issue, nerfing Eerie, yet released Red Forest 2.0. We began the work some time ago, but recently the speed at which we're able to push it forward has been greatly improved thanks to new hires. Yeah, they're kind of telling on themselves there. The speed that they're able to do it has been improved thanks to new hires. Also, the rate at which we don't know what to do has been increased due to new hires. On our team. Now we're able to tackle urgent day-to-day tasks while simultaneously making regular progress on live balance for existing maps. Regarding the Eerie of Crows, the intention of rebalancing efforts there was to address how Solving Survivor started it was. I think the Eerie rework was kind of okay. I actually don't have that much of a problem with that. When it comes to Red Forest, you frankly just didn't have the resources at the time for the scope of the work required. Now that we do, I've scheduled an update for both Mother's Doling and Temple of Purgation that will hopefully address others' concerns. Seems like a denser coal tower. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not a good map, but it's better than it was. Why push it out? See, that's a really good question. When it comes to Red Forest, we didn't have the resources for the scope of work required. Therefore, we decided to try to do it anyway. Why? It seems like just a waste of resources. If you don't have the resources at the time for the scope of the work required, then don't do the work required. If you're literally just saying, we half-assed it because we didn't have the resources. Fuck it. I don't understand that. That's also a good point. So they had the resources to address how strong the survivor side at Eerie Crows were, and they fixed that. But then with Red Forest, which came out after, they don't have the resources for it anymore. Did someone quit in between the... I don't understand. Because they didn't make new assets for Eerie? Okay, that's fair. That's a good point. They were using the actual assets that are already existing in the map. But then this still confuses me. Because that implies that they had an asset team for art and stuff like that, but they didn't have the one for gameplay, but then they decided to just do it anyway? Red Forest larger than Eerie, some more resources required? That's not how that works. It's built in tiles. Yeah, also Eerie's broken anyway. I don't know. That's very confusing. Can you please hide survivor prestige levels until the end of the match? A lot of killers target and harass high prestige survivors. Is that a thing? Is that a thing? Wouldn't you not want to chase the high prestige survivors because they have a chance of being better at the game? I guess, I don't know. My brain doesn't even comprehend that. Yeah, I understand dodging it, but harassing them? Wouldn't they want to dodge them if they're scared of it? I don't get that. If the complaint is that they're scared of going against it, they would dodge the lobby, not stay in there and try to tunnel the survivor that might actually be good. That's weird. Harassment is the topic I was looking forward to tackle. I'm going to use this question to opportunity reignite the topic and open a new Jira request for today. Okay. It's a nothing question. For original characters, I'm not going to read only negative questions because that seems biased. For original chapters to take place around different nations and even around different periods of time, what's the process for the research and implementation of different elements to properly represent that lore and in the inside of their respective maps? Well, here, I'll take this one. So what we do is we take a character like Vittoria, who is from the medieval times, and he really has to represent the era that he comes from. And that is a time of, just rags and stuff like that. Anyway, here's a cosmetic where he literally glows. I feel like you guys already know. I can't even do that. I can't sell the joke. Not even fair. We have multiple steps in our creation process that ensure due diligence in this regard. Internal and external consultation with regional partners, extensive research and immersion. One of them, recent example, will be delete the Renato characters cosmetics, which are designed by a Brazilian artist. That's cool. To be fair, cosmetics are cosmetics. They're optional things, I guess. So, I feel like I can't give him too much shit for that. Oh, that's so many replies. I didn't realize there's 2,000. Is there going to be an update where survivors can always recover from dying state like the one off Unbreakable? I think I remember reading about the one for now. Oh god, a dad answered this one. No, we're not planning on making that part of the base game. Glad to have a solid response. At least. If you're referring to the finisher Mori, we tested that in PTB, but it was an early prototype test, a lot of feedback, and we're still working on that feature. But again, we're not planning on putting Unbreakable in the survivor base kit. I would have to say that's good. I still think there needs to be something to address people getting slugged out for 4 minutes, but the free Unbreakables was a bit much. It was too much, so that's good. That's probably the first good response I've read on this entire thing. That's great. I'm glad that they gave us a concrete answer that they're not doing that because it was, it's too much. Yeah, I mean, like, things like this, it's a valid concern. I agree that they do need to address people like killers that intentionally slug people out for 4 minutes. That is a problem. But I don't think base kit Unbreakable was the correct way to do it. Maybe I should sort by... Is there a way to sort by Q&A? Because I don't know how much longer I have to scroll Q&A. Oh, neat. You can do this. Probably going to see a couple ones that we've read already. Yeah, it looks like it. Any plans to unlink currently linked sets for original characters? No. Based. Not even reading more. Oh, here we go. Getting some interesting stuff. Regarding individual killer balance, will you start taking feedback from people who have spent countless hours playing them, if at least to see what they want out of their killer without being unbalanced? Our external playtesting methods and processes involve a large variety of player types, all of which range widely in skill level and experience in the game. Veteran players with many hours in DBD have super valuable feedback, especially when it comes to breaking our rules and exposing balance issues. It's important to point out that beginner, intermediate, and casual players also have important contributions and insights to share that we also need to take into account user balance designs. I mean, that's sort of a no-brainer answer. It doesn't really answer anything. He's not wrong. You don't only want to listen to veterans. You have to take into account the new player and the average player experience too, because they're most of your players. So they're not completely wrong there. But that doesn't say much, really. Okay, that's the Unbreakable one. Here we go. Is there a reason more survivor emotes have not been added yet? Feels like a no-brainer since you can make a fortune from selling them, and it's not like it'd break immersion since this game is long past that point now. Very true. I feel like even small things, which could be like hand gestures and stuff, would be a nice addition with the time. However, things like dances would be amazing, even better if Killer can do them at some point. Very true. Free money for the game. Survivor emotes was an idea we played with many years ago. We even got so far as to implement a few of them on a prototype build. Unfortunately, we found them to often break immersion or encourage negative gameplay behaviors. For that reason, we haven't revisited the idea for a number of years. See, I think they're past that, though. I think they're long past that. Breaking immersion is not a thing anymore. Clown can be a fucking elephant. There are Legion skins where they're bunnies and shit. Survivors can glow. Dwight can be an elf. There's no more horror aesthetic to the game anymore. That's long gone. So we're well past that part. Encouraging negative gameplay behaviors, you cannot change that. That's impossible. People will always do that no matter what. Whether you're getting Fortnite danced on or teabagged or whatever. People are always going to find a way to BM you. It's impossible to remove. So why not just bite the bullet and earn free money by selling it? Yeah, people do it with the point. People do it with the come here. It doesn't matter. You cannot avoid that. It's impossible. So embrace it and make free money off it. I think that's a bad answer. You can't avoid it. Amidst the PDB testing, there were a few concerns regarding Made for this, particularly in regards to its interaction with Hope, allowing survivors to keep pace with 110 killers like Hag. Is this something Balance Team is aware of, and will they be continuing to monitor Made for this balancing purpose on the chapters live? We're going to be watching out for feedback and data once the community's opportunity to test this. We did. That's what the public test build is. We already have plans to address Made for this if and when it becomes a problem. All right, I guess they want to look for stats or something, which is going to be pointless. Because probably the people running that perk are the ones that are going to be getting chased because they're running the perk to get chased, which means they're going to die more, which means they're going to think it's a bad perk, therefore useless, so... will there be any plans to have more diversity in body shapes of survivors? Low to see more plus-size representation. Inclusivity and representation is supported as body shape nights. The Dead by Daylight team is aware of this issue, and we are looking into it, but we can't give any concrete details as of right now. I think that's it. I think that's all the things that they've answered. Mind you, people still think Lucky Break is a bad perk. True. Yeah, that seems to be the last thing they answered. I'm gonna go through their hi buddy. I see the trap one. No, I'm gonna go through all their questions now specifically to see if I missed anything. Oh, here, look at that. I missed this one. The Shrine of Secrets is used as a way to make all the perks accessible to players who do not want to spend additional money for the game other than the cost of the base game. But with over 200 perks in the game now, that system is no longer a reliable way to acquire specific perks. This leads to arguments that players who are willing to pay extra are giving an advantage over other survivors since meta perks can be locked behind a paywall. What are your thoughts on replacing the Shrine of Secret with a menu of teachable perks that can be purchased? I need to... Hold on. What are reasons that a system like this can't work? Okay. The Dead by Daylight team is aware of this issue, and we are looking into it, but we can't give any concrete details as of right now. Okay. Characters on sale for Destiny Shard's anniversary. All right, that's cool. Accessibility. How do these not show up? Behavior fix the visibility issues. Your girlfriend's colorblind, can't see most colors. The colorblind features don't help her, so it's depressing for her to realize that she's at a significant disadvantage playing the game, even if it's hard to see sometimes. Definitely ramping up our attention to accessibility in the game. It's unclear how we will adjust our support for colorblindness in the near future, but I can say we have done... The Dead by Daylight team is aware of this issue, and we are looking into it, but we can't give any concrete details as of right now. Skull Merchant Poggers? Dude, there's so many more questions that I missed. Yeah, that's what I'm doing, Kizwati, right now. Skull... Wow. I am fucked up today. Okay, the Skull Merchant is a polarizing character currently. Are you happy with how Skull Merchant turned out? Do you have any future revision plans? Skull Merchant has problems on live, and we are very aware of that. We feel the killer is fun and interesting in general. but there are some unfortunate playstyles that make her kit frustrating to play against. 2 things to say here. She's getting an update. Again, we are currently trying to determine when that can go out. Stay tuned. Her most oppressive games tend towards the 3-gen category or strategy. That is true. This is problematic in our game as a whole, but especially against certain killers, Skull Merchant being the most egregious. We're currently working on a systematic solution to deal with 3-gen games, which will also help playing against Skull Merchant. That's good. I don't know what it is, and there's no ETA or planner, so I'm just going to do this, but that's good. The Dead by Daylight team is aware of this issue, and we are looking into it, but we can't give any concrete details as of right now. Hi, Mika, how you doing? Any plans on improving daily rituals, a permanent 60k BP instead of the 30k we're getting now, and the ability to choose between survivor or killers would be nice. I think I read that already, but we'll do this. The Dead by Daylight team is aware of this issue, and we are looking into it, but we can't give any concrete details as of right now. I'm trying to see things that I haven't seen before. It's a process of figuring out general balancing and new perks as the game continues to add in new killers and survivors. The process is naturally data informed, but the major part lies with the design team, who is aware of what comes next, whether it's perks, killers, or any other feature that will impact gameplay and balance. In short, if a perk is both ubiquitous and powerful, it probably needs to be addressed in the near future. All right. I feel like I can't press the button. We do it via data and let our design team do the balancing. That's basically what they're saying, which is very confusing. I'm not even going to try to read into that more. Actually, there's my food here. I have to get my groceries out the door. I will be back in 2 minutes. As the game continues to its 7th year, I think the community deserves an official comment from the devs on the flagship killer, the Trapper. The character who was on most, if not all, advertising is perhaps the most recognizable killer in all of Dead by Daylight's original roster. It's been the worst killer in the game for years by an increasingly significant margin. Unlike any other killer in the game, his power requires full minutes of setup, can easily be countered by good communication depending on the map, and just entirely cease to function due to no or sparse or thin grass. True. Most new maps released in recent memory have no grass whatsoever and are so large that I can add an additional minute or two of just retrieving your power, which again, no other killer is anything close to that level of setup time. All of that to say that for Trapper, he seems to get exponentially worse with every update. Does the dev team have any plans there of reworking Trapper, which your opinion he desperately needs? The Dead by Day. I hear you. Topic of conversation across our teams, but at the moment we do not have significant gameplay updates planned for Trapper. Partly because our data shows his kill rate is pretty much where we want it to be. Ugh. On average, even at high MMR. Which is like half the player base. Also, he holds a very important role as one of the simplest and easiest killers in the game. He's great for onboarding new killers, and we don't want to change that too much. It's kind of funny. I think the onboarding new player killer should be Wraith, not Trapper. With Trapper, you still have to kind of understand maps, and you have to understand where to put the traps and stuff like that. So he's not like, I don't know. I should watch Otz's reaction to this answer. Oh, poor Otz. If you have a clip to it, I'd love to see it. You have a small but very fun update in the works. You can have a naughty bear skin. Oh, that's so good. Listen, we know Trapper's the worst killer in the game for 7 years straight. We hear you. We know he's the icon of our game. So we have a bear skin for you. Good luck. Oh, that's funny. All right. I think that is basically everything, right? I can't think of any other things to read.